friends and warriors. Welcome to another episode of the Cleanse Heal Ignite podcast. This is Doc Talk with me, your hostess, Dr. Diane Kaiser. And we are going to talk today about a few things first, a few housekeeping updates around the peptide space. And then we're going to bring on a guest today. He is a dentist and he's one of our patients. And he just recently graduated with a 6-month transformation with us. So we're going to get into that, and hopefully it's inspiring to you, because so many of us feel like when we go to the dentist or we go to the doctor, or I should say we've been pedestalized to believe that, doctor means that they are the all-knowing. And we've been programmed since birth to believe that they know more than we do because of their training. And I'm a doctor myself, and I'm always learning, and I'm learning from a lot of doctors. And so I love to partner with doctors. I love to support doctors, especially, and dentists like Dr. Jason, who we'll bring on, because they have influence. And just because you hear the word doctor also doesn't mean that they're all bad. Just because they've been trained by the ADA or the AMA doesn't mean that they're all bad. In fact, a lot of dentists and doctors like Dr. Jason, who we're going to bring on, are really searching to uncover what they haven't been taught and learn new ways of healing. And that takes a great deal of humility, because when you go through medical school, not that I've been through, medical school as in a medical doctor, the programming, at least in terms of the mental egotistical realm, is that we know everything in terms of the training. And then doctors or dentists believe that we know everything. So it takes a lot of shadow work and a lot of dark nights of the soul, and a lot of moments of maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I didn't learn the right way, and maybe there is another way. So we're going to hear his story today. And before I bring him on, I'll share a little bit of what he and I share in common, because I love to find parts of myself in our patients, because it helps me to build more empathy and connect more to their story of their why. It's like when people come to us for healing, one of the first questions that we ask is, and what's this all for? What do you want to get better for? And whatever better looks like to you, what does better look like to you? And then when you get to this point of awakening and transformation, what are you going to do with all this new energy, this new awareness, right? So I love to get connected to that, because their why, I used to say this a long time ago, is if you don't know your why, then you won't fly. And fly stands for first love yourself. And this journey of transformation does start with, how much do I love myself? And how much do I love this body? How much do I respect this temple? And how much do I believe in my ability to heal? If you lack those things, it's going to be pretty difficult to transform. So it's at least this journey is half mindset, and the other half is the skill set and the knowledge base that a lot of people are not given yet. This is what these podcasts are all about, is to help you awaken to realizing that you have a lot more hope than we have been programmed to believe. So we'll get to Jason in a moment. I did want to make an update. This is Wednesday, July 8th. And as of tomorrow, July 9th, the day that we've been talking about for probably close to 3 years now is here, whereby your ability to access and purchase gray market peptides is going to change. And I'm not saying that it's not available, but Limitless, who is our primary source for peptides, who is our trusted source that I have yet to see anybody have any crazy side effects or death, as some crazy influencers are saying that there's vaccines in the peptides, which is a laughable topic, really. I commend them for being discerning and for being skeptical, because we all should be after COVID happened. But we have to be careful not to throw all peptides in the same water that we throw the baby out with, right? There's gray market peptides, there's black market peptides, there's medical peptides that are GLPs that you're getting from a prescription from the CDC, FDA. And then there's peptides that you get in compound pharmacies. I'm going to do a podcast tomorrow with Ian Smith and Christopher about this as well, which we will share later, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. But back to what I was saying about Limitless. If you don't yet have an account and you have been thinking about buying peptides at all, or bioregulators, whether they be intranasal or capsule injection form, it's the time to get at least an account established. Right now, you can just go onto dianekaiser.com/peptides. And you'll see when you scroll down, first of all, you can get my free guides on there. You can buy my $17 peptide getting started bundle. You can buy the peptide power course, watch a ton of videos, our favorite archives of some of the more popular shows that we've done on GLPs and many other mitochondria enhancing peptides, human growth hormone secretagogues, things that can help your brain, stabilize your mood, help you with sleep, skin, beauty, all of it. It's all on that page. But what you'll see on that page when you scroll down is our 3 favorite partners. One of them is Limitless, another one's BioLongevity, another one is another one of our backup peptide companies for bioregulators. If you don't yet have an account, at least just set up an account. You don't have to buy anything. When you click on, there's 2 links you'll see on there for Limitless. You can buy any peptides that are on there. And then there's a little button below that if you have been wanting to purchase GLPs, thank you, Paula to the rescue, for showing the visuals. There's the free guide. There's the $17 bundle. There's the course. And you can scroll down to see what works best for you in terms of if you want to get started with peptides. And we say Yeptides because we speak in code on social media because I'm always getting censored, which I did just yesterday. I got a slap on the wrist because I've been talking about Botox. And yes, there are the same ingredients that are put into vaccines, not the mRNA technology. But anyway, I'll talk about more of that tomorrow in Botox. Anyway, I get censored all the time for Botox. But you can see right there, Limitless, there's 2 buttons, shop now and buy VIP peptides. Either one of those, when you click on it, and if you can click on that, Paula, and just show them if it does open up and you haven't been cached, you'll see that all you have to do right now is put your name and email address in to create an account. As of probably Thursday, end of day, and moving forward beyond July 9th, we don't know what day it is, but it'll be within the next week. You will have to open an account as a air quotes researcher. So there's all kinds of coding language that is going to change on the website. It might become slightly a deterrent for people because they might get a little confused or are turned off by that process. Because they're going to say, what's your researcher name? What's your researcher company name? And you might be like, well, this is not for me. But this is where we're at with the oversight from the FDA. And so we're doing this, and Limitless is doing this, and probably BioLongevity and many other companies will follow suit so that it appears as though you are a researcher. And so it's part of the whole disclaimer process. So just know you can establish an account, put your name and email address in there. You will at least have a free account. And then you won't have to do these crazy hoops to start a new account as of within the next week or so, because it might be a little confusing for you. Of course, you can still, create an account later on, but it's just going to look different. And there's going to be a lot more information that you're going to have to enter into those cells. The last thing I want to say is on the Buy VIP Peptides section, which is really cool. Limitless just came out with a oral capsule GLP. And so that's something that you can consider or take if you have been cycling on and off other GLPs like retatrutide, tirzepatide. I've never recommended semaglutide, but there's a lot of tides in injection form and people are always wondering about cycling. So it is new. It is available under the Shop VIP Peptides. And then once you access the website and you're on the website, if you can go into Limitless's website, Paula, I want to show them this because this gets very confusing for people. They're like, how do I find the retatrutide? How do I find the capsule-based GLP? When you shop by type, click over there on the very top, so shop by type. When you're logged in, at the very bottom, it'll say shop VIP peptides. So, but you have to first sign in and have an account to see shop VIP peptides. And then when you click on that, it will open up to all the GLPs. Retatrutide, we never know if they're going to take that away or if it won't be available. That could be anytime soon. So if you want to get it now, I would recommend getting it now. And everything right now is, I think, until the end of day Friday, July 10th, 15% off site-wide with the exception of a few peptides with Limitless as well. We are having our summer sale. It's either 20% off or 15% off or up to 25% off if you're a VIP member of all of our supplements. And I'm doing this for the entire month of July because I've been seeing a lot of hardship in the United States. And so I extended the sale. So all of that is available on the website. If you are on our email list, you will have seen all of this already. If you are not on our email list, the 2 ways to do that is you can either get my free peptide guide, which Paula just showed you, dianekaiser.com/peptides, or you can just go to dianekaiser.com/updates and just put your name and email address in there and you'll be put onto our list. But you might as well get something for free while you're at it, and then you will have the guide on how to dose peptides, how to get started with the protocol guidelines, how much bacteriostatic water to add to the vials, and how much to cycle on or off, peptides, the combinations, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my updates on the peptide space right now. And I'm going to move into our guest. I'm going to introduce him. So first, Dr. Jason, he is a dentist. And you're going to see he's in his office. He's in his clinic right now. one of the things that I loved about Jason, in fact, when I was reading his health history, when we first started working with him as a patient, I had tears in my eyes because he basically alluded to the fact that he was feeling like he was kind of checked out, kind of numbed out. And this is happening to so many people, whether or not people are wanting to share and be vulnerable, despite lots of social media and being taught that we just have all of our shit together and show up like we're polished and perfect and nothing's wrong. The reality is behind the scenes, many of us are struggling, especially the doctors and dentists of the world who work really long, hard hours, and especially dentists who are exposed to a lot of heavy metals in the form of mercury, aluminum, and then all the bacteria, root canals. I have a heart for dentists. They actually, I don't know if it still is this, but I know 5 years ago, dentists had the highest suicide rate of any career in the United States. So when Jason was willing to be so vulnerable to share, I have a family, I have kids, I feel like I'm just not even myself. I can't focus. I had tears in my eyes, and I also found myself in him because a lot of us can find ourselves in him. He had been struggling with drinking excessively for a long time. I don't think he calls himself an alcoholic, but I can relate to that because I used to drink a lot to check out, to black out, to numb out, because really connecting with our light and the power that we have within our own temples, it's challenging because the status quo does not point us inward. It does not point us directly to ourselves and the inner light that we can connect to be our own savior before we look to other people to do it or society to numb us out. And everybody, I don't care who you are, is addicted to something, is at least connected to things that, or dependent on things to help us numb out or check out from this reality, because it is a very challenging video game that we're all living in right now. So Jason has, within the last couple of years, gotten off alcohol, and he is remodeling his insides. He's remodeling his brain, and we cannot remodel our brain without looking at the biology and chemistry and genetics of our entire makeup. So this is what we did with Jason. We looked at a lot of different labs, not just basic blood tests, and we uncovered a lot of things. But before I get into all of that, I wanted to bring Jason onto the show and welcome him officially. So Dr. Jason, welcome to the Chi Podcast.
Hello, welcome.
Welcome to you. And you are at your clinic right now, correct?
I am. Yes, I am.
All right. Do you have a patient you got to get to so we can?
No. I cleared out 2 hours, so I got plenty of time.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know Dr. Jason, I just shared a lot. And I remember the first email I sent to you was like, hey, I've been where you're at too. And so I can connect to the why behind what you're here to do. And I wanted to just hear it from you first. When you first came to Chi, how did you hear about us, and what did you come to us? What challenges were you experiencing, and what goals did you have?
Well, thanks. I appreciate the time to kind of share. Not that I'm important. I'm not. I'm just a guy. But I think what I went through could be very relatable. So it's still kind of heavy for me sometimes. Sorry. Um, I was in a lot of trouble. I really was. I was so freaking desperate. And I don't know. There was something about. I looked at a lot of things online, and there was just something. You were speaking to me in my language, and so I just said, hey, I have nothing to lose. I've been feeling very lost. The alcoholism was it was very, very bad, and once I quit, and it I had a very profound experience in my life that really got me to quit. Although I tried to quit maybe 200 times, but then I was left with like this realization that I was always a very like outgoing, gregarious guy, but that's always because I was drinking a little too, and I wouldn't tell everyone. And then as an adult, without having that, I just had like this massive identity crisis. I got really anxious, pretty depressed. Like I was socially anxious. I'd never been a socially anxious person. Um, and that was really hard because it wasn't like, I mean, it was just absolutely ripping the Band-Aid off. And it was almost like I had an adult. I was a new adult with like not very good coping skills, and I just had to kind of just suck it up and do it. And I wasn't doing well. So I also knew there was something going on like in my brain that was just bringing out, because it wasn't it wasn't just a worry anxiety. It was like visceral. Like my insides were just like tearing me apart sometimes. So I needed help. I tried to sort of, you know, take a bunch of supplements I saw online and all that shit. And that doesn't work very well, not with a plan. So when I first got with your guys' ministry and kind of got onboarded with Carrington and like went through all my supplements, we had a little bit of laugh because they were just all over the place for no rhyme or reason. Just, oh, I saw it and I thought it might help, but you know, it was very chaotic. Um, and just that your guys' approach to how you do it, for me, it was like perfect. Like I wasn't confused, I wasn't scared, there wasn't a lot of pushback. Like I just I get what you guys are doing. For me, it was I I felt right at home instantly. So that's, I guess that's part of my story.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I mean, publicly, first of all, it's. I think that's the first stage of our journey to feeling free. It is to release this shame demon, this guilt demon that we're carrying inside, because it causes us to numb out and check out even more. You know, it is, I'm the only one struggling with this, nobody can help me, and it just keeps us in that loneliness cycle, and also, you know, the shame cycle. And I love it that you're feeling this, because if we don't face it and feel it, we can't free it. And I, especially coming from a woman, as a man, to hear you be so open and honest with this is what we need more in the world. I mean, despite your healing journey, despite the labs, despite your health history, despite that you're a badass dentist, despite the fact that you could be honest with yourself, this is what we need more of, because this is why we have the loneliness epidemic, right? Is, and people turn to alcohol to be more gregarious, or people turn to whatever drugs or whatever to feel more of ourself. And it's really to feel free enough to express in ways that there's some story, broken belief system that is preventing us from showing up authentically. So you went through a dark night of the soul. I want to even get to your labs first. I want to get to, like, this is the real heart of the matter here. So when you say that you were going through it, you know, what were you discovering that you were using alcohol or anything else to numb out and check out from when you stopped doing it, such that those voices or broken belief systems showed up and you had to actually finally face them?
Um, I think I always describe it as this, like I I really genuinely wish I was like that character from Van Wilder, the Ryan Reynolds guy, you know. And I wanted to be that. I really did. And all I needed was a couple drinks, and like that was me. Um, and that's because I thought that's who everyone wanted me to be. So one of the real fears when I stopped drinking was I thought I was going to lose my friends. I thought I was going to be alone, and it sucked. But I tell you, alcohol is a liar. It's a freaking liar. It's not true. And man, I had so much support. Like I even had a friend last week ask how I was doing. And they're like, Jay, you know, you've been sober now almost 4 years. Like you were the last person in the world um, that we would ever think would like not only go sober but stay sober. And you know, and I've had a couple people reach out and kind of ask, you know, just kind of those probing questions about, hey, how'd you do it? Like, you know, and if nothing else, it's made me very like really empathetic towards people's struggles. Like I used to judge like us all, you know, look at someone acting out and just doing stuff, and now I'm just like, man, I haven't walked in your shoes. I don't know your path. And for me to, you know, judge you so harshly based off of, you know, an interaction or two, like that's bullshit. Um, we I was guilty of, especially in my younger ages, just being kind of judgmental, you know, oh, you know, you do this or you're this type of person. And it's just such a fraud. And it it really is real once you go through it, and you're just like, man, don't don't ever judge, you know. you can judge behavior as far as like, hey, that person's acting weird. I don't really want to, be close to them. I don't want my kids around, that sort of thing. But as far as like that overall character assessment, like, oh, that's a loser, or that person's, that's like, don't, it's very shameful to do that, especially when you've been through it. And I kind of feel bad for all the judgments I know I've pre-done on people in the past. It's shameful, and it's like that person is dead. That person no longer exists. Like whoever I am now, it's just a much better, more clear, kind of more open version. And you guys had a very profound help doing that. And so I'm very appreciative to what you guys are doing in your ministry. It's awesome.
Oh, thanks, Jason. I was re-reviewing your health history, and I remember when I first read this, and this is what got me. It was, describe how you feel about your life at this moment. And your answer was, I've built a great life with a great family. To your point about like on the outside, we look put together, but there's this inner struggle, and you're not alone in that. I mean, this is the problem that we have with our society. You said on the outside, we were a family that others looked up to and aspired to be like, which is why it makes no sense that I feel anxious and depressed and sad. I cry for no reason now. There's something wrong with my body and my balance. I needed expert help to get me back on track. That is the biggest shame trap, right? Is that on the outside, we've built this life that our culture tells us that we should aspire to be this. You've got the career, you've got the family, you've got the house, you've got the money, you've got the wife, you've got all the things. But yet something inside we're troubled by, and it pushes us even further into shame and denial and checking out, because we should, air quotes, we're shitting all over ourselves. Like, I should be happier, but I'm not. So let me numb out this shame about what I should be, but I'm not, because I feel like a fraud. I feel like I should be this character, but I'm really over here like this. And I don't want anybody to see that. So we hide from ourselves with addictions, with, numbing out with whatever substance that is. And that could be gambling. That could be, OnlyFans. That could be anything. It's not just alcohol, right? It could be medications, right? Because that numbs out our symptoms, but doesn't do anything to fix the root cause. And so this is why your work, it's like straight shamanic work. You were raised by a pastor. In organized religion, that's one of the P's of our prison bars, is that you were possibly, I'm not going to make any assumptions, but what I know about organized religion or politicians or our professors or all these P's in our prison bar model is that we've been programmed to believe certain things. And I believe a big part of our judgments have been shaped by the projections of those organizations judging that if it's not what we believe in our cult-like model, whether it's religion or the press or whatever it is, then you are not a part of this thing, right? And so the judgment thing, what I've learned, and maybe you've learned in this on your journey too, Dr. J, is that all projections or all judgments of others are really projections of what we have not accepted within ourselves, or what we believe and we've been taught to believe that we should be. So it's whatever we're taught to fear that we then judge on the outside. And so when I went through my whole journey of suppressing and then getting out of alcoholism and whatever it was I was, thanks, Paula, using to numb out, I was like, wow, I've been taught, really programmed to judge anything outside of myself. And it creates this sense of superiority. But then if I have the superiority, then why do I feel like I'm so unaccomplished? Like there's something missing. And so that we turn to the alcohol, we turn to the whatever substance as our friend, because it will never know these deep belief systems, that these corrupt thought patterns that I have, and I'm judging other people. I'm such an asshole. Why am I judging people so much? Right? Is that kind of similar to the fight that you had within?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It took a while, and it took some very intense kind of soul searching, looking in the mirror to just be like, hey, you know what you believe, or it's almost like this. Like I had to look at just about everything and go, why do I believe that? When did that start? Because that wasn't necessarily in my head, and it wasn't my thoughts, but. And then you go, okay, well, if I need to question this, I need to go a little further back. And boy, does that get intense? And most people do not have the discipline to do it because now everything about them is a question from when they were a little
Yeah.
kid. Um, and for me, I knew what it was. It actually wasn't that hard because I just kind of thought to myself, it's like, listen, I, I'm just a cluster of things that were told to me. I never vetted any of this. Everything I learned, I thought was true, and I thought people had the best intentions, and they may have. But that doesn't necessarily make it true. But you got to see the programming. And once you kind of do that, and you just, you, I was fine of letting it go because I could tell what it was doing to me. It wasn't serving me
Mhm.
anymore. Maybe it was growing up, and that's fine. I'm not
Sure.
gonna I want to shit on stuff. I know lots of people in the church, and they are very, very genuine, very wonderful people. At least a lot of them. Um, but the programming for someone like with my mind, it was a bit of a trap.
Mhm.
But I had to see it first without judgment, without like, oh, you people are, yeah, you're terrible, you're all brainwashed. I don't think that, but um, there is some there is some things that you will run into that are a bit, let's call them problematic. Um, but you got to be brave enough, and you got to really look to yourself to go, am I okay with like unpacking
Mhm.
this? A lot are not, and that's again, that's where you're at. That's okay with me. I had to unpack it. It was not right, and I feel where I'm at now is, I'm still looking for answers. Like I've always kind of been a bit of a truth seeker, but I'm okay with not knowing everything anymore. And it used to really bother me. Like I gotta know everything about everything. It's like, why? Why? You're good. Like just let stuff play out. Use your eyes and ears. Use your wisdom.
Yeah.
You know.
Who's in the driver's seat? The programmed ego that is insecure if it doesn't know everything or it doesn't feel safe because it has this craving. I need to know so that I avoid this. If I don't know, then I'll avoid looking stupid or being exposed or being found out. I mean, it's once you just put that sword down and be like, yo, ego, get in the trunk, all right? Or the back seat at least. Cause we have the ego does have its place, but not in the driver's seat. And once you put
Right.
that sword down, it's like every little thing that you question becomes a bit more free. And it's like one less chain on the shackles that enslave you to
Yeah.
the prison that we have built for ourselves. Because that's the thing. It's like when people talk about it, like we're victims of this paradigm, then it also implies that there's nothing that we could do and we're hopeless and we're just fucked. We're stuck in this prison. It's like, no, wait a minute. Society handed you the bars, whichever of those P's that it was, the physician, the parent, the peers, pop culture. They handed us the bars and we were too young. We didn't know better. We needed to fit in. We needed to be a part of something because the deepest fear that humans have is to not be a part of the tribe. And then that's like a death sentence to a child. Like, oh my God, I've get kicked out of the tribe. I should feel shame. Okay, alcohol. So it's like we built the prison with the bars we were handed, and now we could be like, wait a minute, I hold the key, and these bars are technically invisible spiritual warfare against myself. I'm gonna start breaking them down. So just it's so inspiring, Dr. J, because you are asking the questions that I believe is how we get out of the chronic disease paradigm and the epidemic. And it's the silent diagnosis that people aren't getting. And we'll get into that next. But I wanted to take this journey with you first because this is what so many people are
I
not willing
appreciate
to
that.
confront. I
Appreciate that.
appreciate you. I mean, it's a beautiful inspiration that I hope that other men or humans hear because men even more than women feel like they need to know and they need to have it all put together, right? Like, what were some of the thoughts that you had being that you had all of this going on and you had two kids to protect and a wife and a family? Like, you were a failure. You were like, what were
Yeah.
the thoughts that were happening there?
Oh, that was the worst. Um, yeah, just like I was failing. I was failing them. Oh man, it's so painful. Um, but it was an option to fail. It just wasn't. But again, I needed help. I knew I was, I'm pretty
Mhm.
stubborn. At least I used to be. So I thought I could think my way through this and just kind of figure it out. But yeah, at some point when I really started looking, I was like, I need help. But I need help with someone that is speaking my language.
Mhm.
Um, and not, there's people out there that they're doing good work, but I don't know. There was something about what you guys were doing where I was like, I got it. Like, this is this is my tribe. I get this. This will help. I mean, I was so positive starting with you guys. That was one of the greatest days. If you remember, I kind of got fast tracked into it
Yeah.
pretty quickly, and I was just like, I was on cloud nine after. I was like, oh, okay, like there was something about it where I was like, this is going to profoundly help me. Um, and yeah, and it did.
Mhm.
So I guess that was right.
Hey, yeah, your heart was right. Fancy
Yeah,
that. Your third eye was right, right? But it's like
yeah,
you said, a lot of these ways you were thinking was, this is not how I believe. This is what I've been taught to believe. And so I think it's
yeah,
also important for the men to hear this too, because men don't ask for directions, right? And men don't ask for help, but it's so beautiful that you did. And it takes it. I perhaps a part of being raised the way that you were seeded you with some humility and the ability to know when it's okay to ask for help versus to need to know it all.
yeah. I do think it was like my family, my wife and my daughters. Like that was kind of had it just been me, I probably would have fumble fucked around for a while more. I really would have, because I can figure this out. I got it. But again, it was, yeah, like you hit on the head. I was feeling like I was being a failure, like I was being a really bad example of a dad, like of a husband, of just a guy. And I was like, I am not gonna let my daughters see this.
I love it. You
So
had so much feminine inspiration around you to hold you. And I believe that's why we need each other too, the men and women. And I know stories, Dr. J, and you possibly even had some of these thoughts crossing your mind is, well, then what's the point of even being here if I'm a failure?
100%, yeah, 100%. Oh yeah,
Like, I'm suffering,
yeah,
I'm in pain. How do I stop this pain?
yeah. Now, I did recognize that those thoughts weren't mine. Those were getting put in my mind, but they seemed reasonable to me for some of that really dark time where I was just like, I can't keep going like this. Like this sucks. Hey, or especially like without my family, there's an easy out
Right.
here.
Yes, and that's the convenient way, right? Is the quick answer. And I there's a lot of these stories because we have a loneliness epidemic. Jason is the perfect example of, you could be living the perfect poster life, but still be so lonely on the inside. And so what I love about your journey, and I want to start getting to the labs next, is that was a thought that you realized was a parasite in your mind. That's the
Right.
first step, is to really, wait a minute, these are not my thoughts. These are not my thoughts. Where did I learn this? And where is it still coming in that it's tormenting me? And what can I do about it? Sometimes that's neurology. Sometimes that's chemistry. Sometimes it's biology. Sometimes it's toxicity. And sometimes it's pathogens and it's pathology. And that's what we discovered. So I'm going to just summarize a little bit of what Jason came to us with, and then we'll start second half of the show, because this is your why. And I thought you're so unique in this, and everybody's why is unique, that I wanted people to find themselves in you, to realize that they're not alone, to realize that there is hope, and to realize that we're all literally in the same prison together, and we're all working to break the chains every day with stories like this. So thanks, Dr. J, on that part. So
Welcome.
you came to us not with one disease, obviously. You came here with anxiety, depression, ADHD, ADD like symptoms, fatigue, some weight gain. And what you discovered was, and of course, as we know, most conventional medicine would have treated each symptom separately with a medication or with an organ removal or a lobotomy. But instead, and I'm joking, but instead, what we found on your labs, and I'll show these images as we unravel his story and what we uncovered, is these labs revealed one interconnected story, which is the constellation of your entire life, which is that your mitochondria weren't making a lot of energy. Your immune system was attacking your thyroid tissue. Even though you were not diagnosed with Hashimoto's, you had these patterns and antibodies against your thyroid. And a key driver was that insulin resistance was really amplifying inflammation. And your body was carrying mold toxins and endocrine disrupting chemicals like BPA. You don't have a lot of toxins. It doesn't always mean that you're not toxic. It sometimes means that your body isn't draining well and you don't have the energy via mitochondria to carry it out and to support the organs to do their job. And then your gut barrier was compromised with reduced diversity. Didn't have a lot of bifidobacteria, which is the number one thing that makes GLPs. That's the number one microbe that makes GLPs. And you were really low on that and you were trying to lose weight. And then you had intestinal permeability, high levels of zonulin. And then your drainage pathways were sluggish enough that toxins were likely accumulating in these they were accumulating in your fat tissues because the BPA couldn't find its way out and they were accumulating faster than they could be eliminated. So rather than asking which medication matches the symptom, or let's just take a GLP to lose weight, the difference in Chi, and maybe you'll echo this when I ask you the next question, is why is the body producing all these symptoms at the same time? And in your case, the labs painted a huge picture: impaired energy production, mitochondrial dysfunction, metabolic dysfunction, and all of these things were converging to create this anxiety, fatigue, weight gain, and cognitive symptoms that had taken away the vibrant person that you used to know yourself to be. So it wasn't just another blood test. It wasn't just looking for parasites in conventional medicine. It wasn't just another MRI or an X-ray. It wasn't just let's take the symptom for whatever blood pressure issue. So you learned a lot here with us, Dr. J. Of all of these things that we looked at, what were some of the biggest eye openers for you where it really turned on a light bulb switch for you to go, okay, that makes sense with what I'm experiencing, such that you put the priority on addressing them?
There's a number of them, but I would say probably the one that was the most shocking was, I'd kind of been exposed to like an intermittent fasting type of thing, and being busy at work and stuff like that. It was pretty easy for me to do that. However, with all my blood work and everything, we figured out that I was actually doing my body a disservice, and I was certainly doing it a disservice to not be eating breakfast. So that was like a huge change for me, because I used to, go very easily, couple cups of coffee till dinner, okay, now I have a 4-hour window to eat. So now I'm doing 20 hours of intermittent fasting a couple days a week. Like that's, I'm doing great. I was not. I was literally screwing myself. So just that simple change, and I noticed it in like day 3. Mm-hmm. Day 3, I was just like, man, why didn't I not just figure this out earlier? But it was counterintuitive to me, and I kind of resisted Carrington at first. I didn't like it because I was like, I'm not hungry in the morning, like I can't eat, but I did it. That was just it seems so simple, but it was very, 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 very different, and it made a difference like immediately. I was shocked. A couple things apparently I'm allergic to. I didn't love that, but I've done fine keeping away from those things. Those were just the very, very basic ones, but yeah, it was pretty in depth. I had to make a lot of changes. Most of them have stuck.
Yes. So we love to hear.
Yeah.
Be a good doctor and your own best doctor.
Yeah. Does that answer
yes. Yeah,
okay.
And I'll start sharing, if it's okay, Dr. J, some of your lab results, because this is why I have this podcast. You all deserve far beyond just a CBC and an OBGYN check and MRIs. You deserve far more than just medications. And because again, medications, they're not all bad, but I would lump them into alcohol. It's suppression and checking out of your symptoms, which are your check engine light designed to wake you up to something is wrong down here. Let's explore that. And our conventional model, as you're aware, is trained to just cut off the check engine light. And that is a terrible relationship to have to your body. So more of the same of the conventional medicine would have kept you in that same paradigm of what's wrong with me, because those symptoms are going to be blunted out so you can't hear them, to further take you down the path of what's wrong with me. Well, you can't even hear what's wrong with you because nobody's making that connection with symptoms and lab analysis and really truly exploring there is something wrong with you. It's not you, the whole. It's the biology, it's the makeup, and we can fix this. We can cleanse your body and your environment and heal the root cause and the damage that said toxins and pathogens cause, so that you can ignite what you're even doing this life for. And you have a true purpose with your family and your career, right? So let's get into some of the labs, Paula. I'm going to walk us through. First, let's, Paula, look at the assessment. Or actually, his assessment first, just a screenshot of the primary things that, we look at a lot of different things. We have 12 pages of this. So I always tell our members, our VIP members, and our patients that you can do this for free. You don't need lab testing everywhere, even though it does make sense and it does really support why does he have these symptoms. So we first look at this with our patients. There's tests you can do for sure, mitochondrial dysfunction. There's markers that can show that. But Paula, if you can, well, I'll explain this, I guess, because the bottom, our little banner thing doesn't show the yellow to which he is mitochondria deficient. So if you could stop flying the banner for a moment, just like, thanks, Paula. So mitochondrial dysfunction, we have our patients, just like Dr. Jason did, take this quiz to explore what degree is their body not making enough ATP from a cellular level so that he has not just energy to get through his day, because oftentimes depression can be that you don't have enough mitochondria production. It could be that you're dehydrated. It could be that we need to activate and signal your cells back on so that they can make energy for you again. And energy is not just for you to get through the day, to be able to go to the gym or whatever. It's every organ, every tissue, every muscle, every bone in your body needs mitochondria to communicate so that your body is actually connected to each other in its parts. And your body can read what it needs, and you can give it to yourself and be your own mineral, hormone, vitamin producing factory. So Jason was mitochondria deficient. If you can see down there, the mitochondria deficiency, to what degree, he scored a 47. And what that means is he's actually at the high level. He's in the red dangerous level of not making enough ATP for his body to even have happy thoughts, right? You could be depressed, anxious, ADD, ADHD. You don't have enough mitochondria production. And he was also struggling with drainage dysfunction. So you show me somebody who has drainage dysfunction, I'll show you somebody who is storing and not carrying out and excreting toxins that get backed up into the fat tissues. And then you go, I don't know why I can't lose weight. Well, these are a big part of it. And then you have insulin resistance, and then you have all these toxins backing up in the gut. And then you have zonulin, which was yours was high. So let's go to the next one on this, Paula. I want to show first of all, let's look at his total tox, because yours didn't show up a lot. And we do this on our patients first. We test their toxins first before we look at gut analysis, because typically the reasons why gut markers are off is because toxins are inhabiting the gut. So when we're looking at this, we have first high toxins, high BPA, and two really high markers that are mold toxins. And people think, oh, I don't have black mold in my house. That must mean I don't have mold in my body. But that's not the big picture. Oftentimes, a lot of this is coming from the foods that we eat. And that's where a lot of your mold toxins were coming from, Jason. So it means changing up your diet. Probably means eating more than one meal a day. I remember I used to do one meal a day too, the OMAD. And diets change all the time, right? We go from like OMAD, we go to vegan, we go to paleo, no, do keto, no, just do all meat and work through that. But it's a balance. Everything needs to be balanced, and every body is different. So you had other toxins coming up too. We look at this, and you probably had your first call with Carrington, Coach Carrington, which is one of our Chi coaches. We love Carrington. Thank you, Carrington, for the work that you do for Chi, by the way, and for Dr. J. What did you learn on this? She is. Our whole ministry is a women-based ministry, and it happened this way. So we don't have anything against men. It just happened this way. So what did you learn in this first test? When I look at this, I go, well, first person might look at this and go, well, we tested for over 100 toxins, but you only had 8. So what did you learn on that first call with Carrington about what this could mean?
It's been a while. If I remember right, there was a number of questions where we were trying to figure out, maybe is there like a direct source of, something kind of fueling this. We got decent answers, but a lot of it was, again, just like an overall look at, okay, from a diet perspective, a timing perspective. Really, I I wasn't I was never terrible, but I would get a little lax on, eating shit from packages and stuff like that, and so I made quite a bit more of a conservative effort to, cook more meals myself, and just things like that. Cut out a few of these, these ones that were high, like for example, the hardest one was, we decided that I needed to like cut out all sorts of like peanut butter, which
Ah,
I love peanut butter. I still love it,
who
but
doesn't?
I abstain pretty much. It's pretty rare. If I eat peanut butter, it's like on something on accident. Like I won't consume it on purpose, and that's how committed I was. But
Well,
that
peanut
was
butter.
hard because, man, I that's one of the things I would always go to.
Yeah, and to connect what Jason's saying here, Dr. J is saying here, is that when we see these molds like the aflatoxin G2, that's the one that was high, that comes from consumption of moldy grains, peanuts and corn. And it's not the easiest swap because there's something about peanut butter. It's a memory. It's what we've been programmed. Peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and anything, right? Peanut butter and bacon, like what? You just PB and anything, right? I remember as a bodybuilder, it was like we were instead of eating peanut butter because it had too much fat, it was like peanut butter powder, and it was just gross. But there's a connection, there's an addiction, there's a mental feed for that, and it does produce dopamine and the happy neurotransmitters. But
Yeah.
it was highly elevated in you, and it's hepatotoxic, and it suppresses the liver to detox enzymes, and it's linked to liver stress and inflammation, which you had high amounts of. And it could have been that your goal to lose weight was really like not just fat, it was possibly false fat in the form of inflammation. So that's a big shift. There's a lot of change here, and change isn't easy, like Dr. J is saying. So there was other things too in here. The BPA, I mean, BPA, we pretty much see in all of our patients. It's an endocrine mimicking, disrupting toxin, and it causes high level of xenoestrogens in the body, which can actually create a low testosterone environment for men and women, and that's not fun. So it's not just enough to take, testosterone. It's also, well, what is driving down testosterone? What's driving up estrogen? And BPA is a big one. So too is the 2-HIB, which is the highest one that he had, environmental chemical. And sources are things like fuel additives and solvents and exhaust fumes. And his was highly elevated. That's a marker of oxidative stress and mitochondrial overload. It's linked to petroleum or air pollution exposure, but it could have also been coming from your environment as a dentist too. What do you say about that, Dr. J? Did you start to question the things that you were working with in terms of ingredients as a dentist?
I think that's kind of what we sorted out. I wouldn't say that it was probably directly related to like mercury or amalgam. Although the metal fillings, they're half mercury. And going to dental school, we were told they're trace amounts. Well, I'm sorry, trace amounts not half. I ask anyone.
Tell him.
But cutting through, there's all sorts of materials, some like fake porcelains and resins and all sorts of stuff. And I had spent years just not really appreciating what was happening. But I'm a lot more cognizant on not only protecting myself, but protecting the patient and my staff, and that I don't think I came. There wasn't like a target, like, oh, okay, it's been this the whole time. But the more you look at like even the chemistry of the resins and stuff like that, there is all sorts of just the chemical nature of them. It's not like, oh, it's 2 ingredients. They're 200 chemicals long. So and there's there's nothing I can really do about that other than just be proactive, and get my levels down, and then from now on, be very cognizant about protecting how I breathe, and all that stuff. And um, that's about as good. That's about as good as I know how to do. Um, and I probably won't get it down to like perfect levels, but um, e- e- even the increase, or I guess would say my numbers getting much better. I'm happy with that, because I would have never known any of this prior, and I would have been just kind of going about it, going, well, this is how everyone's done it prior, and that's just not good enough for me anymore.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because it's not about being perfect. It's about being aware and taking action. And you've heard us say it all the time and what Carrington supported you with is that ABC, always be cleansing. I mean, it's not just dentists who are exposed to all these toxins. I mean, let's be honest, like our president just approved total immunity for glyphosate and the damage it causes people. And we're going to look at this next. You had leaky gut. The number one reason that we have leaky gut as a society is because we're breathing in glyphosate. We're living close to places where they're using Roundup and spraying it everywhere. So people are like, oh, it's okay. There's a glyphosate shield and they're using more of it. Well, just eat organic. It's like, it's not about that. If you live close to a golf course, if you live close to anywhere that has grass, they're likely, and it looks perfect, to your point about perfection. If a lawn looks perfect, it's probably been heavily sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. And you did have a high zonulin marker, which says you have leaky gut. We can't diagnose because we're not medical doctors, but the birthplace to autoimmune disease, or even disease of the brain, and inflammation of the brain, and then hence depression, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, all of those things, is that we have leaky gut, then it creates leaky brain. And all the toxins that you're exposed to are then, they have an open door, a bigger door to get into the brain, because the blood-brain barrier is there to protect us from toxins going up there. But as a dentist, and anybody who has silver fillings or has had them, we're exposed to these things and they can travel to the brain. And aluminum is being sprayed in chemtrails, and it's why a lot of our United States is probably on fire too, because it's highly flammable with all the toxins too. So I wanted to show this as well. Paula, if you could, I just added an image. It's called Mercury Toxicity, Dr. J, to the folder. If you could show that, because oftentimes this is a big misnomer. People think that, okay, I'm going to do a urine test, I'm going to do a blood test, and it's going to accurately tell me if I have mercury toxicity in my body. And oftentimes this is not true. It's really hard to detect this because we can't test for the toxins that are in the brain. So if we're looking at Dr. J's symptoms of mercury toxicity, which when Paula pulls up in a moment, you guys will see, he scored very high on mercury toxicities in terms of exposure, in terms of symptoms that he has. And so that didn't show up on his urine test. It's not going to really show up on a blood test that well. It's hard to detect that. So that's why we look at symptoms in our assessment form to see if there's symptoms that are related to that. So I'm not sure, maybe Paula's not, maybe she can't hear us, but when she flies it up, we can show it. There's other things I wanted to show as well, which when you did your last CBC, Dr. J, or whenever it was, or in your past, has anybody ever looked at your thyroid antibodies?
No, you guys were the first.
Wow. Okay. So first, well, let's get into that next, and I'll show that image. He scored 68, which is in the red. When we look at mercury toxicity patterns and symptoms, this is oftentimes what we find, even though it's not on a blood test. So this probably shifted, like you said, in your practice, protecting yourself from mercury exposure, because you've been exposed to it. How many years have you been a dentist, Dr. J?
20.
20 years. It's a lot of years.
Yeah.
And so when I had my silver fillings removed the first time, it was not done the proper way. And so oftentimes I always think about the dentist, like, how are they exposed to these things? So these symptoms were something that we looked at with him. And that does create a level of leaky gut. So let's look at this next, Paula. Let's show the image that is two things. Let's show Jason M. Hashimoto's, that image, because this is what also can create Hashimoto's. Oftentimes Hashimoto's, and we're not diagnosing you obviously, but what we can say is that you have patterns. You have patterns that would otherwise, if a medical doctor was looking at this, they would diagnose you with Hashimoto's. They would diagnose you with antibodies to your thyroid, which means that your immune system is inadvertently attacking your own thyroid gland by accident because of molecular mimicry. So these toxins or pathogens, parasites could be too, they inhabit that gland. And so the immune system is trying to attack and remove those, the poisons and the pathogens, but it looks just like the thyroid. So it gets attacked. So was this a surprise to you to see?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't think that was, part of my issue at all, but again, my understanding of it is not nearly as full as like an expert like yourself. So I in a way I was a little bit glad, because I was like, okay, like I know what this kind of stuff does symptomatically, and if I've got to address this, I can't help but like start to feel better. So it was almost like, okay, there's one hot fire we got to put out, and there are ways to do that.
Yes, and I had,
but I was actually surprised that it was there like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we definitely need to monitor that. We're removing the root causes, the weeds that contributed to it. But then it's a matter of making sure that the next blood test that you do, we're tracking that, because most doctors will start with TSH and stop there. But this is the big picture of thyroid's 85% more markers is what we test and look for. And we've seen so many people in our practice this year that have high levels of antibodies. So it's like, why? And how do we fix this? Let's look at the gut ones too, Paula. This is the last little bit I wanted to show everybody, which is his GI highlights, his gut commensals, his gut inflammatory markers, and low bifido. And then we'll just start wrapping. So the bottom one here, fecal zonulin, that's what we test for in stool analysis. We don't start there, because if we don't address first the reasons why someone might have leaky gut, it might just show that his gut is absolutely destroyed. We look at this after we've been working with a patient for about 3 months. So when we looked at this in a stool test, and by the way, you guys, when you go to a medical doctor, they're not going to look at this. They're going to mostly look at pathogens. So we want to look at if you have intestinal permeability, because if you have a leaky gut, then this, like I mentioned earlier, it eventually moves and graduates to leaky blood-brain barrier. And then you start having the symptoms like Jason has or had, which was all, could be anxiety, depression. It could be a feeling of hopelessness. It could be ADD, ADHD. You could feel like you're going crazy. You could feel exhausted. You could feel depressed. You could feel like you're not getting sleep. So when we look at this, we see a lot of people who have been working with doctors before where they go straight to, let's do zinc, glucosamine, let's start healing the gut. But if we don't remove the reasons why your gut was leaky to begin with and you had high inflammatory markers, then we're not going to fix the gut. So were you feeling that in your gut too, Dr. J? Were you feeling like your gut was a bit of a mess as well with symptoms? And how has it progressed since then?
Yes. I'd say it's night and day better. I used to, I used to get like really sensitive to certain foods, I could tell the moment I like ate stuff, I was always like constantly complaining, like, oh, my stomach's upset. And that was like an understatement. Like I felt terrible. And I'd, be using the restroom, 5+ times a day. Sometimes I just didn't feel good. And I almost chalked it up to that's just normal. I guess that's how I do things. But, once you sort everything out, you could just get a lot more like normal and regular basically. And I'm like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Right. All right. Well, this is better.
Right. Yeah. It's, in fact, one of the next things I wanted to show is on your gut commensals. We look at patterns, and it's like, it's no wonder why you were feeling that way, because your gut commensals were showing, and this is advanced stool analysis too, you guys. Again, this is advanced. And we just ship our labs to our patients at their home. They do their stool analysis, ship it to our lab, and we get the results back. So you don't have to go anywhere. And that's what people think. So I need to go work with the local naturopath because I need to do this. We work with people from all around the world, have been since 2009. If you guys are interested or applying to become a patient, we don't just take anybody. you guys can go to the dianekaiser.com/patient and learn more about how we do this. So if you look at these things, that we look at commensals, gut bacteria, microbes, and how they pattern for the possibility of certain types of diseases. So, he had a pretty high risk of autoimmune health. And then when you compare that with his blood testing, we did confirm that there was a autoimmune pattern that was showing that he otherwise would have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's and put on a TSH medication, maybe some Remicade, and then you would have been the rest of your life on medications because you can't do anything about it because they're not going to look at that in Western medicine, right? Or look at your environment to see how it's poisoning you. We looked at your markers for your blood testing, and you had high levels of blood sugar dysregulation and insulin resistance. Well, that's also coded by what's happening in your gut. And then, of course, when we look at the other ones, nutrition, we were looking at changing your diet up because you were doing OMAD, 1 meal a day. And then neurological health, because of the low bifidobacteria and low bacteroides, you had issues too, with not just the mood, but also losing weight. So these types of microbes can code for Alzheimer's disease, autism, poor biosynthesis of neurotransmitters. So when we start addressing your gut, then you can get out of your rut. And then the last one down here is there's other things too with IBS, IBD, you had a predisposition to those things. So when we start looking at patterns, we look at, okay, what can we do to shift your gut microbes and bring life back to them and plant seeds and probiotics and then feed them so that your gut can start taking care of your brain. And then we bring in peptides and then everything starts to work together. So that's the last one I wanted to show. Your gut now, as far as the difference, going to the bathroom 5 times a day, which is super inconvenient, you feel like that's been mostly regulated at this point where you have what we call healthy poops and you feel it too in the brain. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm much more like normal and predictable, now. And again, that these things, they don't just come out of the blue. So, what I thought was normal for my life was probably a 10 or 15 year pattern. And I just didn't think much of it, all other than, I'm just way more normal than other people, I guess, but that's not normal. It's just not.
Right.
So when actually things got corrected again, I was like, all right, this seems to make more sense.
Yeah. We gotta talk shit in order to get, so you don't feel like shit anymore.
In order to clean up some shit, you gotta talk.
Exactly. And shit, you guys may have heard me say before, it's 4 things that make you feel like shit. It's stress, hormone imbalances, and inflammation and infections, and then toxins. And so that's why we look at all of it. And that's our methodology with Chi. So the last thing we'll talk about, Jason, and it's Carrington started our VIP call. So we're going to go a little over here. If you guys want to join our VIP group, it's only $1 for your first week and learn more about who we are. You get to meet Coach Carrington, who has been helping Dr. Jason throughout his journey, as well as myself with the peptide protocols and the whole ministry. She's already started the call. So if you guys want to join her over there, it's dianekaiser.com/VIP. Now let's talk about your peptides at the very end, because some of the things that we did when you first came to us was to work on getting you some brain fuel. That's why I love peptides so much, is because we can start to support the body to feeling better quickly without having to wait. Because yes, back in the day, eat healthy food, exercise, those things help. Those are now the foundations, whereas the peptides are the things that can get you sooner to where you want to go faster. So we started you with Sloop, BPC, TB500. You were doing the Wolverine stack. And also, when we shifted that over, we worked with bioregulators. We did SS31 for your mitochondrial support, which is not a medication. You can't get SS31 anymore. It's going to be $100,000 a year if you want to get it through the FDA. But before, we had it available. And you did epitalion, you did C-Max Selink, tesofensine. One thing I love about tesofensine is that it had a lot of scientific data to show that it supports people who have addiction tendencies. So how did you feel? I mean, you were taking peptides before you started working with us, and then we just shifted to the game some. How did you feel with those, Dr. J?
I would say I could probably notice it by about week 2, which, maybe some of this is like psychosomatic because I wanted to, but I don't think so. I could immediately tell that things just in my mind, they actually felt like they were going better, if that makes sense. And again, I wasn't having a lot of like ups and downs. my energy and my focus it was at a high level pretty quickly, and it was staying there. A lot of times, especially like when I'm working, I can tell in the afternoon I'm really trying to like keep my focus on the 10 things going on at the same time, and it would be harder and harder during the day. Really, when I started the peptide regimen, I was like, I'd look at it, it's 5 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know we were done already. Just like my mind was so good at a very high level, just like all day. So, and my energy
Hey,
too,
did you become the
and just kind of my
superhero?
whole outlook. Probably,
Yeah.
you know,
Did
you
you
know,
become that superhero character you thought you needed to be?
a lot of people describe me as a superhero. I get uncomfortable with it, but I'm okay.
Ah, if you could receive it in the heart. That's what I've learned
Yeah.
is if, somebody's giving you a gift of how they perceive you, which is, their freedom to have an opinion, receive it in your heart without letting it go to your ego. And then it means that we're connecting. So yeah, I mean, look, in the end, I think it's so beautiful. As we wrap this up, you thought that you should be this superhero. What was his name again in the movie?
Oh, Van Wilder, if you remember it, it's an old stupid Ryan Reynolds movie.
I remember his name, but I don't remember the character. But you thought you were supposed to be Van Wilder, and now you're maybe Van or a better version of a superhero. So I think it's this like full circle that you chose this path. You called us in. We were the teachers. You were the student, and now you get to be your own self teacher. So, and wrapping up, what would you say? Because I heard you say it before that she's different. How was it different, and how was it something that you felt like it was the place that you and your heart and your soul needed for your own revival?
Um, how would I say it's different? I, I would say it's authentic.
Mm.
Um, that's the feeling that I got, and that's actually kind of the person that I became. I don't. There's no title to it. I'm just a lot more authentic. Um, I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. Um, at least not anymore. And that really resonated through. Even before I contacted you guys, there was just something there. I'm like, this group. They're not trying to sell me a bunch of shit. Like they're really plugged into trying to meet people where they're at. Um, High wealth of knowledge as far as, hey, here's how the body's working. Here's how yours is not working. Um, and I don't know, it just really spoke. Like I said, it spoke to me in my language.
Mm.
And I I'd been looking for a while, and for whatever reason, there was something about some of the other aspects that I looked into it that I didn't feel like they would connect with me.
Mm.
So, and I 100% made the right choice. I know that.
I love it. And I love what you said in your intake is that I believe my experience is valuable for others to hear and could inspire them to make a choice in themselves and thrive. So this is when people say, how can I change the world for the better? It starts with this. It starts with just like Dr. J did. It's his journey. He faced himself. He slayed his demon, the main one, the alcohol. It's like you said working with chi is the best decision that you'll ever make, except for aside from quitting alcohol. so it's like one's a demon, the other one's alcohol, or the other one's an angel.
Hey, you got top three. You're in the top three. You're on the podium. You're good.
And one thing I will never do is pedestalize myself as the doctor that's in the prison bars, that I'm the one that saves you. No, no, I won't take the credit. We won't take the credit. We've just been the one that facilitated what Dr. J came here to do, which is to heal himself and to free and slay his demon. And everybody can do it as long as you're willing to confront that and to be willing to be wrong. Well, it's your ego that was wrong. Let's be honest. And to change and to choose change, because whatever you're not changing, you're choosing and you're keeping. So a lot of the talk about one day I'll do it, this will fix itself. If I don't listen to this, I'll just be fine. Just numb out the voice. No, at some point it comes not knocking at your door, but banging it down. And eventually we don't want you to lose the door. We want you to become it and walk through it as a new reality. So Dr. J, thank you so much for being here. Is there any final words you have for anybody?
No, sorry I teared up. Wasn't trying
Stop,
to, but
stop, stop.
no, in like all sincerity, you guys are doing God's work. You have profoundly helped me. Um, I do feel like, if nothing else, I have a bit of a calling to um, meet more people where they're at least like throw my little pebble in your lake, however that resonates and however that like ripples out. At least I had it, maybe a small positive impact. Um, and I'm very comfortable with that. I think those are like for example, the couple of guys that have already come up to me, just sort of privately asking me how, what was like quitting drinking and stuff like that. And this was like years later. That's a lot for a dude to come and say to another guy. And you know, if if nothing else, having those kind of little experiences, you have no idea how positive you can be, because you just think these interactions are innocent, but they make a really big impact down the line. And sometimes you're blessed enough to be able to see some of that. It like comes back to you a little bit. Not that you need it, not that you expect it, but it certainly doesn't suck when you see it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And especially for the men, like you said, to come humbly and ask for help or some
Yeah,
mentorship.
it's not easy. It's not easy.
Empathy. It starts with empathy. It starts with meeting people where they're at, and also to say, hey man, or hey brother, I've been where you are. And if I can do this, then I'm willing to help you help yourself to get through it.
Yeah,
And
you guys are great at that. I mean,
mhm,
there's I never felt like judged or not. I mean, not even a bit. You guys are so open, and it's just great. I don't couldn't have better words for you guys.
thank you, Dr. Jason. And now your new essence, just by being, gets to support people all around you, your patients, your family. And I can only imagine what your future daughters' lives are going to be, because they got to see their dad struggle with something and then soar above it.
Yeah,
Very few parents are willing to show their children, their family, their wives, their husband, the struggle that they're going through because of shame. But I think more kids need to see that, because your parents are the role model. They can become a prison bar, or they could be the model by which you see the world and wish to become more of. So it doesn't make you a worse person for facing your shame and sharing whatever that you feel powerless to. It actually makes you stronger when you take action.
yeah,
Awareness is not enough. Action is where it's at. So
100%, 100%.
yeah. Thank you, Dr. Jason. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you doing the work, and appreciate you supporting people on your journey and planting seeds beyond this. And more men need to hear this. I mean, more humans need to hear this, but men who are listening, let Dr. Jason be an inspiration to you about what you could become if you're willing to be unbecomed from what we've been programmed to think we need to be. Let the ego sit in the back seat, check your ego at the door, put your heart and your soul in the driver's seat, and just watch what happens. And never feel too stubborn to ask for help. We all need it. We all need it.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Dr. Jason. Appreciate you so much.
Sincerely, thank you.
Thank you. And you guys, just a reminder before we wrap today, Limitless, this is a place today, tomorrow, Thursday, July 9th might be the last day where you can open up an account with your name and email address only. After that point, it's going to be a little bit harder to have an account. And so again, the sale is happening until I think it's end of day Friday, 15% off, in addition to our coupon codes, which you can combine and stack coupon codes to save even more. So it's a good time to stock up. And if you guys have questions about peptides, you guys know how to find me. The Elite VIP group is where I live twice a month. Other than that, we have our key clinicians that are leading the tribe calls on Wednesdays. So you get a lot of stuff for being a part of the Elite VIP tribe. including your ability to order your own labs, discounts, and regenerative support with myself and 6 calls a month, as well as access to all of my programs. And if you're interested in becoming a patient like Dr. Jason and having your own dark night of the soul, or many, you can go to dianekaiser.com/patient and apply there, and we will get on the phone with you and see if we're going to fit to work together. All right, guys, see you next week. Be well. Bye for now.